Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another exciting session of Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. My name is Joe Gurowski, and if you don't know what we're all about here, we're bringing science, adventure, and conservation to classrooms across North America and beyond. So we've got a nice cross-section of classrooms from Canada and the US today, 6 classrooms joining us, in fact, plus my own, so I guess 7. And very excited to have Stephanie Arne coming in for round 2. I'll give Stephanie a little intro. Stephanie is the first female host of the iconic Mutual of Omaha Wild Kingdom. She's worked in leading zoos across the United States, as well as with educational organizations in Japan, Thailand, Malaysia, New Zealand, and Papua New Guinea. On top of hosting Wild Kingdom, she's a public speaker and an authority on global efforts in conservation and sustainability. So, Stephanie, as always, it's great to have you joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
And maybe I'll just start off with a question just to get you on your toes right away. One of the classrooms asked where you're located.
Oh, great question. I'm actually in San Diego. I'm north of San Diego in a city called Oceanside, California.
All right. Well, I'm going to let you take over, share a little bit about your really cool career path, and then we're going to talk about our animal today, which is the cheetah.
Great. Okay, well, let me get this PowerPoint back up again. All right. How's everybody doing today?
Good.
Does everybody love cheetahs?
Yeah.
So why do you love cheetahs? Is it because they're fast?
Yes.
Raise your hand if you like them. Awesome. Well, we'll get to cheetahs in just a minute, but first I wanted to tell you a little bit about how I started working with animals and traveling the world. Is that okay? Cool. Thank you for being such great listeners. Okay, so my name is Stephanie, and as you can see, I work with animals. Right there is a South African penguin. Most people don't realize this, but penguins can also live in warm weather. And South Africa and the Galapagos are 2 places, and New Zealand, that do get quite warm, and the penguins do just great there. So that's one of my favorite animals.
Stephanie, I'm just going to pause you for a second.
Yeah.
Just when you do share screen, make sure you do the whole desktop option. That seems to be the least glitchy of the options.
Is it? Oh, is that not working?
Yeah.
Okay, one moment, Joe.
We see you, which is awesome, but we don't see the penguins.
Oh, you didn't see the screen. Okay, sorry about that. How about now?
Perfect.
You guys see the penguin? Thanks, Joe, for giving me that heads up. I would have never known. All right. So let's see where this all started. What grades do we have today, Joe? Joe, what grades do we have? Oh, no.
Did we lose a Joe?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. I just had my mic off so it wouldn't bounce. We have a nice mixture of grades. We've got 2 grade 1 classes. We have grade 4, a 3-4, and a grade 7 class, and a grade 5.
Okay, cool. That was very helpful to know. Thank you so much. Okay, can I get going then, Joe?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right. So I moved around a lot as a kid. I don't know if you guys did, but I think sometimes we have a really hard time when we have to move around and have to change schools and cities and parks and friends. And, you know, it was a little bit hard, but I found that as a young kid, it actually helped challenge me to want to learn more about other people in different states and from different schools. And I had to learn to make new friends. And you know what? Once I grew up and I started traveling, all of those skills really helped me to be stronger and wiser and smarter when I traveled in the future. So the picture of me with the yellow glasses, I think I was kind of nerdy, but you know what? Maybe I was cool. I hope I was cool. I liked learning about animals, and I always knew that I wanted to travel the world and study them. And finally, when I became a senior in college, so I was 23 years old, I got the chance to go to Africa. And I remember seeing pictures of Africa when I was younger in National Geographic magazines and thinking to myself, wow, maybe one day I could get myself there. And I remember my mom and dad being like, no way, that's scary and it's far away. But eventually, they realized that I need to be able to follow my dreams, and I will stay as safe as I can, and I have to learn these things. I have to do it. And they believed in me and finally let me go. And I learned some pretty cool things. I got to meet some amazing people. Those kids that you see in that picture, they're all heading to school. They all have to dress the same. And you know what? They're just like you and I are. They like to, you see that boys play fighting, and they all can get sassy. They like dancing. They have boyfriends and girlfriends. They like math. Some like science. But they also do different things than maybe you and I do. Their chores consist of maybe walking a few miles to get to a water well, or milking the goat before they start their homework so that they can have milk for their food. So I learned a lot about how to appreciate the things that we have that are around us, because not every kid gets that in the world. Also, you'll see me doing a handstand. I like to do gymnastics when I was younger, and I still do, and it was fun to be able to share that same hobby and passion with the men over there in Africa. They had never seen a white woman do a handstand before, so they were pretty excited for me. But I also got to go to places where they showed me more of their culture. They taught me how they danced and played drums. They taught me how to share food even when they didn't have very much. They were very, very nice people. They even tried to teach me how to speak their language. And one woman here that you see with the broom, I was interviewing her about how she coexisted with the animals in the African safari, and then also if she was happy living in her hut. And she said to me, you know what, you are given everything. You have all these games and all this food and these big, huge houses and cars, and do you appreciate your nature? Do you appreciate the animals around you? Do you treat them with respect? And you know what? I don't need all those big cars and games and shoes and all that neat stuff to be happy. I'll be happy with what I have. So I learned a lot of really important lessons. But probably the biggest one that changed my life was learning that I could work with animals, and I didn't have to have a zoology degree, or I didn't have to be the top researcher in the world to work with these animals. I could be an educator or a teacher. Now, the man in the bottom left-hand corner, he's a ranger. And we have rangers at our national parks, too, here in the U.S. But this gentleman needs to carry a gun around because not only does he need to protect himself just in case a really potentially dangerous animal like a lion or cheetah or a big elephant come into his path, but a lot of the time he's walking around and he is protecting himself against poachers. And I'm sure you all know what poachers are. Poachers are hunters that are hunting illegally, so it's not okay to be killing endangered species for their tusks or their fur. So he goes around and he teaches the poachers to stop doing that and tries to protect the animals. So when I saw this gentleman, he came up to our safari jeep and he told me that when he's done walking around protecting the animals, that he loves to go around to schools and teach kids about the animals and how important they are to our planet. And I realized, holy moly, I could teach kids about animals. How cool is that? So I got some really neat experiences working with these animals, and I tried to learn everything that I could. And when I came back to the United States, I worked in Omaha, Nebraska at the Henry Doorly Zoo and Aquarium, and I started to do just that. I worked with animals and taught people, especially kids, all about animals. And you see that bottom left-hand corner with me in the brown sweater. I'm actually doing a version of Google Chats just like we're doing today, except for that was in 2005. So it was right when this kind of stuff started happening. It was really neat. And I realized that I don't physically have to be in your classroom to teach, so that was cool. Here's my first time working with cheetahs. Eventually I moved to San Diego and I worked with a cheetah, and was able to teach all about this specific cheetah at VIP shows at the San Diego Zoo, and then took people around behind the scenes to really get to know these animals, to increase compassion and knowledge about these animals, so that when they leave, they can teach their mom and dad and friends and family all about how cool animals are and how we need to protect them. After working at a few zoos, I realized I wanted to go work out in the field, and by that it meant I wanted to go actually away from the zoos and the wildlife sanctuaries and see what it was like to try to protect them out in the wild. So I got a chance to work with koalas, and on the bottom picture is a whale shark. I used to tag those for about 6 months or help with the research projects. And I also have spent a lot of time working on the Great Barrier Reef. I took people on tours so that they could see all the sharks and the sea turtles and the anemone fish like you see on Finding Nemo, and stingrays and dolphins and turtles, a bunch of really cool animals. And then we would come back up on the boat and we would learn about how to protect them. From there, I just ventured even more around the world. I had to be very brave, but I think I had a good chance or a good time when I was doing it. I really enjoyed being brave and trying to go to new places. So Thailand was one of them. It was crazy to see, you know, the men there walking around their pet elephants. And this woman, I know the picture is really dark, but the woman in the yellow shirt, she's holding a black gibbon, which is a type of ape. And she was trying to convince people to take pictures with this ape. And I was really unhappy with her because she probably stole that baby gibbon from the mother. And I know that makes us all really sad. And I was mad too, but then I realized that a year before I came to Thailand, there was a huge tsunami, a big storm, and a lot of huge waves and water. And she lost her home and her family, and she was doing everything she could to try to survive. And it meant trying to take pictures with the gibbon with the tourist. So that's when I learned that we have to work with the people that live around these animals, like the gibbons and the cheetahs and the elephants. If they're not supported and if they can't find food and homes, then they're probably going to use animals to try to make money. I was able to help clean penguins off after a really big oil spill. And in that picture over to the right, I'm goofing around. I actually chopped up a bunch of fish and turned it into a fish smoothie, and now I'm pretending to lick it. Ew! I didn't really eat it, though. I'm just joking around. I went to Borneo, where I got to see orangutans. A lot of people call them orangutans, but it's orangutans. And then the weird monkey in the bottom corner is called a proboscis monkey, the one with the big nose. And when they make noises to each other, it goes meh, 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 and their nose flips up. It's really funny. I helped collect sea turtle eggs so that we could really keep them nice and safe, so animals like predators wouldn't dig them up and eat the eggs. We helped them to hatch, and then we released them back into the ocean. All right. And then I got a chance to work on a sailboat and go scuba diving through all the islands in Papua New Guinea. And I highly encourage you guys getting your scuba diving certification. Then I went to Hawaii and I worked for the Honolulu Zoo, and I started doing a lot of stuff on the news and making YouTube videos. And partnering with a lot of cool people. And then I started working for Wild Kingdom. And Wild Kingdom is an animal show that we are going to watch now, if it's okay with you. We have done animals like the American bison, the California condor, elephants, cheetahs, manatees, snakes, sharks. We've done a lot of episodes, and we've probably done an animal that you're a big, huge fan of. So you'll have to make sure to tell your teachers and your friends and family to visit wildkingdom.com, or go to YouTube and just type in that name, Wild Kingdom, and you can learn so much about some really cool animals. But we'll start with one today, and it will be our cheetah.
All right. Well, thanks so much for sharing, Stephanie. That's awesome. I always love seeing your story and the path you took and all the really neat places that you got to visit. And, of course, the cool animals you got to hang out with, too, along the way. So I hope all the classes watched the little intro video that was on the event page about the cheetahs, but I have one here called Built for Speed. I'm just going to share my screen and we'll play it from my end. So here goes.
Cheetahs are built for speed, starting with their aerodynamic head all the way down to their tail. Their long, skinny, flexible body helps them reach out as far as they can. A cheetah paw feels like rubber on the bottom, and they have non-retractable claws, kind of like your dog, to help them get the best traction. Can I see your paws? Put up your paws. Now show me your claws. The cheetah's claws are always out, and you know how that helps them? As soon as they see prey that they want to chase, they are going to stick those claws right into the ground and take off running. They can reach incredible speeds of 65 to 70 miles per hour in 3 seconds. I see another predator out in the wild. They're good. So what you're saying is, hey, in general, cheetahs are really hard to be brave ones that come up with, yo, lion, let's do this, let's have a fight. No, they're not. Oh, they're built for speed and they're going to do it, right? Yes, very much so. The tail of the cheetah acts like a boat rudder. It gives it direction and keeps it balanced so that it can turn on a dime without falling over.
All right, I hope that shared okay. That look okay, Stephanie?
Yeah.
Awesome.
That is a short one.
Yeah, why don't I play the next one? There was, let me just bring it up. There's a second one's about 2 minutes as well. Let's watch that one too.
That sounds like a past Wild Kingdom episode.
Yeah, I was playing in the background. There we go. So the second one's called Brothers from Another Mother.
All right.
And
this
here
one,
it goes.
I like this one.
Is that one sharing, Stephanie?
I don't see it.
Believe it or not, scientists over in Africa are using dogs to help learn more about how to save the cheetah. Here at the Dallas Zoo, they're doing the very same thing. By sharing the story and relationship between the cheetah wind spear and dog Amani.
There we go.
To raise more awareness about cheetah conservation.
I want to start it over.
Are having some problems out in the wild.
There we go.
Believe it or not, scientists over in Africa are using dogs to help learn more about how to save the cheetah. Here at the Dallas Zoo, they're doing the very same thing. By sharing the story and relationship between the cheetah wind spear and dog Amani. We're hoping to raise more awareness about cheetah conservation.
Cheetahs are having some problems out in the wild. That means there's not very many of them left on the planet. And that's because they run into conflict with man all the time.
Wind spear and Amani are being raised together as pup and cub and have been slowly building a really strong connection. What's really amazing is seeing the dog, which is comfortable in front of people, look back at wind spear and say, "Hey dude, it's all good. Come on out and check out the crowd." That alone makes them feel like, hey, my best bud Imani says it's cool, so I can come out too. Their relationship is kind of enrichment for both of them.
Was he always this calm? Cheetahs are typically timid by nature, but we walk with Imani and Windsor every day, and Imani, the dog, is here to provide that comfort level for him, just in case he sees anything that's unfamiliar to him.
All the trainers here are also part of their group, our coalition. It's kind of like a trust or respect that you would have with your own family. Trainers go home at night to hang out with their own families. Winspear is not left alone. Imani will play with him just like his cub buddies would out in the wild. My favorite part is that Winspear and Imani will have a relationship that will last a lifetime. Now that's what I call best buds.
All right, let's bring it back. There we go. All right, those were two neat videos. I really like that second one.
Yeah, it was really fun to film too.
Okay, well, where were you when those ones were made? What zoo were you at?
So we went to the Dallas Zoo. A lot of zoos have cheetahs, but the Dallas Zoo had just had the baby cub, and I know she doesn't, I'm sorry, Winspear, he doesn't look like a baby, but he was still quite young. And we wanted to be able to showcase the fact that Dallas Zoo was partnering their cheetah cub with a pup, with a puppy. And a lot of zoos are doing this. And the reason for that is, number one, cheetahs are actually quite intimidated by a lot of things. They're quite shy. And dogs, as we know, are very happy and they love everybody and they're excited. And so when you raise the dog with the cheetah, the dog with the cat, the dog teaches the cheetah how to feel comfortable around a lot of people. And that's really important when you're trying to teach people about cheetahs in close proximity. So we wanted to be able to show everybody that this is a really unique partnership that a lot of other zoos are starting to do, but the Dallas Zoo is doing a really great job and has been very successful, and that's why we chose them.
Okay, well, why don't we visit our classrooms now? We have 6 classrooms joining us.
Great.
And we'll open it up to questions, obviously about yourself, but of course about our friends, the cheetahs, too. So let me give the classrooms a brief intro. We've got Mrs. Capone's class from Freehold, New Jersey. They're a grade 5 classroom. We have Mrs. Cowley's grade 7s from Sarnia, Ontario in Canada. Mrs. Gibson's grade 1s, Deerfield, Illinois. We've got another class from Canada, Mr. Southward's grade 3-4s from Kapuskasing. Mrs. Pandola's grade 1s from Austin, Texas. And last but not least, we have Mrs. Ediger's grade 4s joining us from Hutchinson, Kansas. So we do have a nice spread from around North America.
Awesome. Hello to everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today.
All right. So what I think I might do, just because there is a large number of classrooms, is maybe we'll go through each classroom for a question, then throw it in reverse and hit all the questions or the classrooms again.
Sounds good.
All right. Mrs. Gibson's room, your microphone is on.
Say hi.
Hi.
Ask a question.
How do cheetahs protect themselves from predators?
Very nice. That's a good one. So even though cheetahs are in a group that's called big cats, like leopards, lions, okay, they're still smaller than those cats. So they're the smallest of the big cats. Now, when they're out in Africa and they're trying to raise their cubs, they have to be very careful that leopards and lions and hyenas and baboons don't eat their cubs. Believe it or not, that does happen. Nature can be pretty rough sometimes. So what cheetahs do is they're born with this amazing camouflage where their fur or their mantle on the back of their neck almost looks like dried grass. So in order to protect their cubs from predators, their camouflage on their body hides the cubs. So the cubs will hide up in a ball in a big group of tall grass, and they're hoping that they can hide. Now, if they can't hide, then usually they can chirp, and they can try to run away or fit in small spaces. The mother, if she needs to protect, then she will usually hiss and show her teeth, and she'll even throw her feet down on the ground and go pooh and show her teeth and look as scary as she can. And she can even spit. A lot of people don't think about this, but cheetahs can spit. And if you're a lion and a cheetah facing each other and a cheetah spits on you, that is an alarm. That's scary for the lion. The lion's going to go, whoa, what just got in my face? That's so weird. And they can run away because that could be just one thing, the one amazing defense that can protect them. Obviously, we also know that they're really fast runners as well. So running away is probably their best option against a bigger predator. Good question.
Okay, let's visit Mrs. Pandola's grade 1s. Your microphone's on.
Hi, I'm Taylor, and my question is, how much do cheetahs eat?
Oh, you know, when cheetahs are hunting out in the wild and you see them go in 3 seconds from 0 miles per hour to 70 miles per hour to chase a gazelle or a warthog, they're only successful at actually catching their prey 50% of the time or less. So, you know, they'll chase, let's say throughout the morning, they'll chase 10 warthogs. After the 10 tries, they'll probably catch 1. And so it's a lot harder than it looks, really. The prey are meant to be very fast and try to get away from the cheetah. Typically, cheetahs will only eat once or twice a week. So they are hunting every morning and every night, and some days they don't eat at all because they just can't catch their really quick prey. So if they can eat every day, they will, but in general, it's, you know, about 1 to 2 prey animals that they can eat a week. And that's small gazelles and warthogs and small birds. And if there's a bigger prey animal, like a Cape buffalo, then that animal's too big, so they would typically go after their babies there too. But once again, only a couple times a week.
All right, another awesome question. Mrs. Capone's grade 5s. Your microphone's on.
Okay, here she comes.
Hi, I'm Olivia.
Hi, Olivia.
I was wondering, what was your favorite place that you went to?
Oh, wow. I get this question all the time, and I should really sit down and think about it and figure it out. It's really hard, Olivia, because every place you go, you discover new things. You discover different types of people and different cultures. I love learning about, you know, how everybody has different accents and uses different words for things. I love that we all eat different foods and we share our family time differently. I love that every country offers different types of topography and habitats, from mountains to ocean to deserts. So all of them are so awesome in their own special way. But I think my favorite place in the world is, right now, this could change, but right now it's Australia.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good choice. I would have to include that in my favorite as well.
Yeah, it's a pretty wonderful place because of the rainforest and the desert and more of the savanna outback and then all the ocean. It's just, for an animal lover, there's tons of exotic animals there for us.
Okay, Kansas. Mrs. Edgar, your microphone's on.
Have you ever touched the cheetah in the wild?
No, never. See, I think that sometimes when people see myself and other people that work with animals touching exotic animals or wild animals, I think that sometimes people think that we can also touch them in the wild. What we need to understand is that animals in the wild are extremely different than the wild animals that we raise in zoos or in animal rescues, because they are not used to being around humans. So if I went to Africa and I was walking around in the savannah and a cheetah came by me, first of all, that cheetah would try to intimidate me because he would look at me and go, who are you? What are you? You're this weird animal on 2 legs that stands up. And more than likely, he would do the same thing to me as he would to the lion that we talked about earlier. They slap their legs down and they hiss and they spit because what if I'm a hunter? What if I'm a predator? So wild animals don't know you. It's kind of stranger danger kind of a thing. Now, if I'm in a zoo, like I was at the Dallas Zoo with Winspear Amani, he still has those wild genes in him. Okay, they're not domesticated like a dog, or I wouldn't even say a cat is really, but a dog or chickens or cows. But they are used to humans. But still, when I arrived at the zoo, I made sure to respect the zookeepers and respect the cheetah and the dog, and I don't touch them until they get completely used to me and they feel safe and I'm allowed to do so.
Good advice. Canada, Ontario, Mr. Southward's class. Your microphone is on.
Hi, Stephanie. Thanks for doing this.
Hey, you're welcome.
Jared has a question for you.
Hi, I'm Jared, and I was wondering is it the male cheetah or the female cheetah that hunts?
Great question. Are you thinking that lions, like when you think of lions, typically the females are the hunters, right? You know that already, right? Yeah, you do. So in the lion world, the females are primarily the hunters, and then the males with the big manes, they just chill out and they wait for the females to bring the food, but it's because they're protecting the pride. Now, lions are lucky because they have a pride. They like to be grouped up. Now, cheetahs, they don't typically group up, so they hang out by themselves. It's called solitary. And so females, when they're off by themselves, they have to hunt for themselves. And if they have cubs, which they can have 2 to 8 cubs, that means that she has to go hunting not only for herself, but all of her cubs. Now, if those cubs grow up, and in the cub group, the coalition, if there's males and females, once they get old enough, like 2, the females will go off on their own and become solitary, but the boys will sometimes group together. And they'll partner up because they, as brothers, want to come up and find their own territory and eventually find their own girlfriends that they can have cubs with in the future. So those males will have to also hunt for themselves, but they're lucky, like the group of lions. But typically male and female cheetahs don't hang out together for long periods of time like the lions do. Does this all make sense?
Yeah.
So both girls and boys cheetahs have to hunt for themselves.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Great question. Class number 6. Ellie's class.
Hi, my name is Arne Cheetah.
One more time.
Did the cheetah dog ever fight?
Did the cheetah or the dog ever fight? Play fight. They didn't, it wasn't like the cheetah ever wanted to attack the dog as though the cheetah was a predator and the dog was prey. Because they grew up together, they truly believed that they were both brother and sister. So think of if you had a litter of dogs at your house, you would watch the puppies grow up and they would play fight, right? Yeah, puppies play fight, don't they? So then when Amani, the black puppy, when he wanted to play, then he was teaching Winspear, the cheetah, how to play too. And the whole purpose of play for most animals in the wild kingdom is to learn how to fight. And it's in their DNA, it's in their genes, it's part of their nature to want to do that. But it was never, there was never a moment where it ever got really dangerous at all. It was just fun play. You're welcome.
All right. We visited every class. Turning around. And go in reverse. So Mrs. Cowley's class, if you have one more.
And I was how the dog and the cheetah communicate.
How do the dog and the cheetah communicate? This is a really, really big question because we don't speak cheetah or dog, do we, as humans? So we can only guess from spending a lot of time with animals how they communicate by observing them, right? And we do that with our dogs too. We learn how to communicate with them even though we don't speak each other's languages. And so with all the animals that I work with, I've spent a lot of time watching them to see how they communicate. And it's pretty consistent that they communicate, number one, vocalizations. So they might bark or hiss or make some sort of noise. And, you know, just like we are talking, we're making noises right now too. So they vocalize. And then body language. Body language is extremely important with animals. So with the dog and the cheetah, just showing their teeth or lifting their ears up or sideways or back, or if it's leaned down like this, or if it's standing up right here, if their tail's up or to the side, or if it's wagging, or if it's in between their legs. Every single body motion that that animal makes is a sign, it's a signal, it's a way to communicate with other species around them. And we do the same, right? You see me talking with my hands, you can see my face, whether I'm smiling or frowning or I look mad. That's how we communicate non-verbally to each other. So we kind of communicate very similar to each other as animals do to each other. I also think that there's another special way of communicating, and that's with just feeling emotion and feeling energy. Okay, so have you ever been in your room and you're cleaning or playing or doing your homework, and all of a sudden you just feel like somebody walked in your room? Like somebody, like maybe your mom's coming in and she's standing at the doorway and you're like, I knew you were there. Have you had that happen before? Raise your hand if you have. Okay, so you could feel that, right? Well, I believe that all living things can feel that. They can feel how if there's a presence in the room or something's watching them. And for predators and prey, that's really important because obviously some prey don't want to be found. So if they start feeling like, whoa, there's something around me, and they turn around and there is a cheetah, that's important that they could feel that because it made them look, and now we'll give them enough time to run away. So I believe that there's like this emotional energy kind of a thing that's going on with all animals, which is a nonverbal way of communicating as well.
All right, Mr. Slide. One.
We're getting echo.
Hello, my name is, and I was wondering, have rough
If they have rough what?
fur.
Fur. Yeah, they do, actually. Lion's fur is quite soft, but leopards and cheetah fur is a little bit rough. And there's a couple different reasons for that. One, the fur is really short and scruffy, and I think that they want their fur to be a certain consistency because of the dramatic temperatures in Africa. It goes from really hot during the day and really cold at night, so they need it to be kind of rough to keep them warm. Secondly, the roughness appears more like dry grass in the African savanna, so it gives them even better camouflage that way. So yes, when you feel them, it's not like this crazy soft poodle feeling or anything like that. It's actually kind of rough, but not rough like hurt your hands. I don't know how to describe it better than that.
All right, good question. Let me see. Mrs. Ediger, your microphone's on.
Why do cheetahs have spots?
She's muted. No, we're not. She's muted. We're not muted.
Why do cheetahs have spots?
Stephanie, can you just check your mic? I think it might have been muted. See if your mic.
Okay, can you hear me?
You're back.
I have no idea how that happened. That was weird. Okay, just yeah, give me a wave if you can't hear me. Okay, so we know that when you look at the cheetah's tannish, brownish, yellow coloration, it's obvious that they would blend in with the dried grass in the African savanna. But the black spots kind of throw people off. The reason why they have those spots is because they like to lie in that grass, and sometimes even in the grass under a tree. And think of it this way. When you look at the grass, it's kind of spotty. You have grass chunk that's dry, so dry yellow grass chunk, and then a dirt chunk, and then grass chunk and dirt chunk. So it's kind of spotty on the ground. But if you're lying under a tree too, then the sunlight goes through the trees, and when it hits the ground, it makes the ground even more specklier, doesn't it? So when you get outside, and I don't know, most of you probably have snow on the ground right now, right? So when you see the sunlight go through the trees, you're going to see on the snow that it makes speckles, light and dark spots, right? So if you're a cheetah and you have light and dark spots, you're going to blend in perfectly. And how that's helpful is if they're just relaxing underneath the tree and a gazelle walks by and just looks over and sees spots of light and dark and the cheetah blends in with that, then that gazelle's not even going to see the cheetah and proceed to eat, which allows the cheetah to stay really close to some of its prey before it takes off running and chasing them. So it's a really, really important benefit for them.
All right, great question. Capone, your mic's on.
Hi, I'm Haley. I was.
What other animals do I work with? I work with a lot of animals. Because of the zoos that I've worked with and the animals I've worked with out in the wild, I've gained a lot of knowledge and experience working with a variety of species of animals, which opens the door to work with new species. Every zoo that I go to film a new episode, I get the opportunity to work with another new animal because they trust me and my knowledge and experience. And so now I don't particularly work at one place. I just film the shows that you saw today, and there's so many different kinds, and I film them out in the wild and at zoos and aquariums and rescues. And sometimes I even travel around and I do presentations like I'm doing today, but I would be there live, and I would bring maybe 5 to 10 animals with me. And they're not my animals. I rent them, even though I know that sounds really weird. But I borrow them from people from zoos or animal rescues, and they bring them out to me, and then I can tell the stories of those animals. So every time I get out there, I'm working with different types of animals, from 12-foot snakes to kinkajous to raccoons, alligators, lynx, cheetahs, manatees, sharks. I work with all different types of animals. I don't know if there's one I haven't worked with yet. I'll have to think about that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so you have 2 minutes. We're getting some feedback. So what I'm going to do, when the class asks their question, I'm going to mute you. You just mute yourself when you talk. Does that make sense?
Say it one more time.
I'm going to mute you when the class asks their question. And then when you're going to answer, the mute button on your side. So you're talking again.
When I go to answer, hit the mute button?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. We're just getting feedback from the microphone. There we go. I think that's good. Mrs. Kendall's class, you're on.
My name is and how far see.
Ask it again.
My name is Preston, and how far can cheetahs see?
Okay, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How far can cheetahs see? So cheetahs have excellent vision, and if you haven't noticed, cheetahs have a black mark underneath their eyes. It's called a tear mark, and that helps them see even better. So if they're in the African savanna and they're looking out across the prey, they have prey animals that have excellent camouflage too, so they need their vision to be excellent to be able to distinguish the difference between grass and a gazelle. And what really helps them is those black stripes. Have you ever seen football players wear those or put that on before? On TV, you see them go, they put that black under. The reason why they do that is because when the sun comes down on their face and it hits our cheeks, it reflects into our eyes. And it can kind of, not blind us, but it just makes it really bright. But if you make it black there, it kind of blocks the sunlight so you can see better forward. Another thing that helps it with is it almost creates, think of it at the end of a gun. It has this little thing at the bottom that helps you aim. So those little black marks, the cheetahs can see right there, and it helps them aim so they know where their gazelle is while they're running. So it fits right here. And their vision, if you're on a track, like at your school, they can see a gazelle really well from when it's really straight, before it curves, they can see over 100 meters.
All right, another great question. Mrs. Gibson's class, we'll give your classroom the last question. Your microphone's on.
Hi, my name is Seth. Are cheetahs endangered?
What do you think? Can you hear me?
Do you think they're endangered?
Do you guys raise your guys' hand if you think cheetahs are endangered? Yep. Cheetahs are endangered, and what endangered mean is there's not very many of them left. And extinct means they're all gone in the wild. So cheetahs are endangered. There's not very many of them left in Africa or Asia, especially in Asia. And the reason for that is, number one, they're running out of habitat and territory to live, and they're starting to compete with our cities and our towns and all of our farmers for space. And unfortunately, number two, a lot of ranchers and farmers were shooting them because they thought the cheetahs were trying to eat their goats and their cows. So that's why we brought the dogs around, and it started in Africa. They thought, the researchers in Africa were like, hey, well, why don't we start training these dogs to block the cheetahs away from the goats? So a bunch of farmers and ranchers got these dogs, and the dogs were able to tell the cheetahs back off and get away. So that was kind of cool. They were trying to come up with unique ways to help the farmers so they don't lose their cattle and their goats, but also keep the cheetahs nice and safe and protected. The third one would be wildlife trade and trafficking. Believe it or not, people still want these animals as pets, and cheetahs would be a terrible pet. You don't want a cheetah for a pet. But some people still, they get really rich and they think that it makes them look cool, and it doesn't. So we don't want people to take cheetahs from the wild to have as a pet because it's not safe or healthy for the humans or the cheetah. And sadly, we know that also they're poached for their fur because they have such beautiful spotted fur. Thankfully, that is very illegal, and we are able to put some bad guys in jail and prison that do that. But it is decreasing. If we say that it's not cool, then people will stop doing it.
All right. Well, Stephanie, always great to have you joining us. It's another great session learning about the cheetah and the awesome path you've taken. I'm sure you've inspired some students to look a little bit more into what they can do in their communities and just what kind of jobs might be out there for them. So maybe I'll give you just a last word, a last goodbye, and then I'll turn on the microphone so the classes can say thank you. Thank you.
All right. So the last thing I have to say to you is please make sure that whatever your talent is, explore a bunch of different things that you really love. And whatever you find out that it is, if it's making videos, if it's drawing, if it's doing puzzles, if it's speaking to people, if it's math, whatever it is that you love and you're good at, keep practicing it over and over again. And if you're really passionate about helping to save animals or protect habitats like oceans or rainforests, or my goodness, if you love teaching people about those things, then start practicing it now. Start studying everything that you can and watching documentaries and reading books and visiting zoos and rescues or whatever it may be to learn more about what you love. Because what I did is I loved teaching and I loved animals. Now, I didn't want to become a researcher that sat out in Africa every single day in a tent watching cheetahs so I could record all their information. I wanted to be the person that taught what all the researchers learned about and took their information and shared it with the world, because I love people and I love talking to people. So I combined my two passions together of teaching and speaking to people and my love for animals. And you can do that too. If you love math, I know there's ways that your math talent can help us save cheetahs. If you love anything, like just keep an open mind, okay? If you have a dream and you want to pursue it, just start practicing it now and really believe in yourself. And if your friends tell you you can't do it, those aren't good friends, okay? You all need to be kind to each other and realize that we all need each other. We all kind of have the same goal. We all want to be happy. We want other people to be happy, and we want animals to be happy. Sound good?
That sounds good. Let me turn on the mic, Stephanie, so the classrooms can say thank you. Microphones are coming on. Thank you. All right. Thanks, everybody. We're signing off for today. Thank you, Stephanie.